Welcome back to the Fanspeak Network. And after a summer of drafting best ball teams, we're here to finally break down the NFL from a sides and totals perspective. Tyler, it's finally here. This feels like it's been the longest summer since I started drafting in like April. I've been doing so much NFL prep. It's time to put that to work. And you and I are back, man. We haven't been able to talk that much this summer. We've both been real busy. I had a great Labor Day yesterday, but now it's back to work. How are you feeling about this upcoming NFL season?
I feel good about this season. I mean, it has been a long summer spread. Feels like we haven't done a show together in forever. We did that one preview show, but that was no fun. We got to get back to bickering about the lines, which team's going to win, who gets the bragging rights at the end of the week. So it should be fun. I think we're going to do great this season. And not being able to talk to each other all off season, all the hot takes are coming out today, so people get to see it.
It might make for a better show, right? As we're going to be both surprised about what we said. Usually, I got a pretty good idea of where you're at, but on most of these games, I have no idea. I'm throwing in some projections right now while we're doing this. I do have a play for the Thursday night game, though. I already know where I'm at with that one. So enough about us. Let's dive right in. What's up to Andrew in our chat? Andrew, I was able to check out your battle royale content. So guys, check that out if you are interested in that. It was great for me as someone who's never played it, kind of a beginner's guide on strategy to battle royale. So check out that. That was last night, I believe, that they took care of, or maybe it was Sunday night. Anyways, I listened to it last night. Great work there. But Tyler, let's bet some sides. Let's bet some totals. And the season kicks off with the Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs, hosting the Baltimore Ravens, rematch of the AFC Championship game. And these teams look a little different, right? Both teams added some weapons on offense. Both teams lost a little bit on defense, with the Chiefs losing L'Jarius Sneed. And I don't know if the Ravens lost a lot of players, but you have to think that Mike McDonald going to the Seattle Seahawks should be a setback. Now, to be fair, I remember when they moved in Mike McDonald, and I said losing Wink Martindale is going to be a setback. So let's see if they can pull it off again. But it's almost like the Niners, right? It was like they kept replacing defensive coordinators, right? They had Saleh. They replaced him with D'Amico. And then I can't remember the name of the guy this year, but he's definitely not as good as Saleh and D'Amico is. How many times can the Ravens pull this off? This game's going to be a lot of fun. We saw the Chiefs get upset on Thursday night last season against the Lions to open the year. Everyone was ready to write their obituary, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. So, we can't overreact to this game too much, although we will do that next Monday. Talk to me about how you're feeling, though, when the Chiefs take on the Ravens.
Yeah, I think I'm going to end up on the Chiefs in this one. I mean, you talked about Baltimore adding pieces. They added the fun, shiny piece in Derrick Henry to the offense that everyone seems to talk about. It's like, oh, they added Derrick Henry. They should be able to just have a better offense. No one said a word about them losing 4 or 5 starters across the offensive line, and the only guy returning being Ronnie Stanley. They lost some depth pieces on that offensive line also. That is where the football games are won and lost. We both know that when these guys go out, that's what decides some of these games. Losing 4 or 5 starters is big. I know Derrick Henry's been a stud running back forever, but if this offensive line can't block for Lamar, they're not going to be able to block for Derrick Henry. So I think it's the Chiefs here. The Chiefs defense did lose to L'Jarius Sneed, but look at these wide receivers for Baltimore. I don't think they see much pressure from them in week 1. Like, it's Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, and these guys. Baltimore is going to win the game. It's going to be on their running game and their defense. And I seen the quote from Roquan Smith that says they want to take away the run game from the Chiefs and make them one-dimensional. I don't know how you make the best quarterback in football with all new weapons one-dimensional. The other thing, too, you talked about last year, them getting upset in week 1. There was a lot of question marks with the Chiefs coming into that week. We didn't know what Rashee Rice was going to be. We didn't even know who wide receiver 2 on the Chiefs was going to be. They have all new weapons. I know Hollywood Brown isn't playing, but Rice will be there. Worthy will be out there. I think Kelsey's going to crush his props this Thursday night. You've seen what he did to Baltimore in the playoffs, 11 for 116 and a touchdown. I think he gets a touchdown. I think he clears his yardage prop in this game. So I think the Chiefs win an easy game here. Maybe not a blowout, but I think they have control of the game pretty much the entire way. I know everyone's going to talk about the Lamar 12-0-1 ATS as an underdog, but I think he takes his first loss here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I bet the Chiefs and I bet the under. First of all, the new defensive coordinator could take a little time. And you talk about usually, why would you want to take the run game of the Chiefs? Like usually you're trying to take away. Why would you want them to go to their strength more? That doesn't make sense. If the Ravens do win this game, to me, it's because they would correct the mistake they made in that AFC Championship game. Why didn't they run the ball in the AFC Championship game, right? So you think that they're going to be a little more focused on running the ball, getting Derrick Henry involved, and I wouldn't even be surprised if he had a pretty good game and the Chiefs were still able to win, right? I could see Derrick Henry being like, I could see a Henry captain winning in DFS. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a huge game, but the Chiefs were just able to pull it out because we know that when it comes to these close games, you want to have that quarterback. You want to have the ability to drive down the field through the air at the end of the game with not much time remaining on the clock. So we know that the Chiefs are never out of it. We know that they're able to come back. So even if the Ravens get a lead, that's not going to be an issue. We know there's some teams that don't play well from behind. That's not Kansas City Chiefs at all. And Tyler, the other play that I made was the under. I don't have as much like backing on this, but we just know, first of all, primetime under, first game of the season under, playoff atmosphere, all these things usually trend under. And if Baltimore does have that recommitment to run the football, should be less plays being made. Where are you at on the total?
Yeah, I don't have a real feel for the total. I'd probably lean under with you saying the prime time under and everything, it being the playoff atmosphere, but no real edge on the total for me in this one.
That's funny. I almost like the under better than the side. But it seems like we agree on the Chiefs. Is there any more thoughts you have on that game before we move on?
Nope, that's pretty much it for me on that one. We could jump into the Friday night game.
Yeah, we will do that. But before we do, guys, this is the Fanspeak Network. I always hear people on YouTube and they say, welcome to the channel. I'm like, why don't you make your channel different? So this isn't the channel. This is the Fanspeak Network, brought to you by fanspeak.com. It's been best ball summer all year, but now we're switching over. We're going to be doing the Battle Royale content over on fanspeak.com. Of course, you'll have my projections available to you there and continuing to dominate in the season now as we move more to the daily picks, the weekly picks in football, and just gearing up for next year. And then we get to also tout our wins and losses on all these best ball takes that we've had. So, guys, give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, fanspeak.com. Green Bay Packers, Tyler, head into Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. The line is -3. The total's 48.5. I mentioned to you this in our chat. With all those wildfires and stuff going on, well, first of all, I think international games are tough. And now with the wildfires, I mean, there was talk about them canceling the game and moving it back to Philadelphia. I would think they would have had to announce that by now. So it seems like it's still going on in Brazil. But there's just a lot of variables involved in this game. I'm not going to be betting it. I'd love to just hear your thoughts, like if people do want to bet it since it's a standalone primetime game. However, just from like a wise investment standpoint, I don't think I want to get involved in this. Am I missing something?
No, I don't think you're missing much. Like, I don't hate the idea of just avoiding the first ever Brazil game with everything that's going on around it. But doesn't that make you feel like the under's the play here? Like, they're talking about not letting these guys do anything outside of the stadium, really. Stay in your rooms. You have the wildfires going on. I think they're just going to want the parlay Jacobs and Barkley to each have 50-plus rushing yards. I don't think that's a bad play at all at about plus 108. So I don't hate that. I don't hate the under. If you force me to pick a side where I had to pick every game, I'm probably taking Philly.
All right. Yeah, I don't want to get involved in that at all. I was thinking the same thing on the under with the idea that both teams would just want to get in and out, especially if that air quality is bad, right? I've lived in it, obviously, California wildfire. And it's weird because, like me, it bothers me a lot. And other people, like, it doesn't bother them at all. So it's also kind of weird to know, like, who's going to be, like, annoyed. Or it's kind of like, for me, it definitely lowers my energy levels. the smoke is just lingering in the air. And for other people, they're just out. I see people out running and riding their bikes. I'm like, what are you doing? It's crazy. Like I'm sitting in the house with the AC on, no windows open. So yeah, I think it's going to just be really hard to handicap. But if we did have to make a play, I'd go under once again. Any more thoughts on the Packers and the Eagles before we move on to the first Sunday? Red Zone's back. Anything more on Eagles?
Nope, that's pretty much it for me on that one.
All right, let's dive right in. So I see a lot of threes on this board, Tyler.
Nope, we could jump right into the Sunday slate.
Yeah, this game's going to be also a -3 as well. Miami Dolphins are -3, although it's juiced really heavily. Guys, I'm getting these lines off bookmakers, so if you're using FanDuel and DraftKings, they might be a little different. But on bookmaker right now, Miami Dolphins are -3, but it's -130, which makes me think it's going to go to 3.5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Tyler, I'm still throwing those projections in right now, but just thinking about this game, I like the Dolphins early in the year. This is a regular season team to me, and they're known to put up points. And this is a team that can blow other teams out. The argument against it, of course, is Trevor Lawrence is getting better, should have a better offense. They've got some new weapons here. The defense looks pretty good. Your thoughts here on the Miami Dolphins versus Jacksonville Jaguars? And it just went off my board at Bookmaker. Let's see what it reopens at.
Yeah, I'm going to be on the other side from you on this one spread. I think the Jags win this game outright. I mean, before they got attacked with injuries in Week 11, they were 8-3. Trevor Lawrence was playing with about 4 injuries to end the year, and it all came. Their season came down to the final week of the season. If they win, they get into the playoffs. If they lose, they're out. At that point, their team was destroyed by injuries. They lost that game. They missed the playoffs, and now everyone wants to throw them in the trash. They have worse odds than the LA Chargers to win the Super Bowl, which I think is absolutely wrong. This team's going to be decent. I think they make the playoffs. I think they make a run and maybe win the AFC South. So I'm on the Jags here. Miami lost a lot of pieces. They lost offensive linemen. They lost a ton on defense. I just think they could be a shell of what they were last year. So I like the Jags in this spot plus the points. I think it's a shootout game, but I think the Jags can keep up.
All right. Well, I'm fine staying off if that's the way that you feel, because I didn't actually love that pick very much. All right.
Yeah, I just watched on FanDuel. It went from 3 to 3.5 for the Jags.
Yeah, I just went to 3 to 3.5 right now too. Is there any news on that, or do you think that's just the market? I'm thinking a lot of people like Miami because they are known to blow people out early in the year. And remember, we talked about last year that kind of made my projections incorrect using the score data that we had already seen because their margins of victory were so ridiculous.
Yeah, like what did they have? That they had the 70-point win, so like that just jumped their numbers up all crazy. And Steve's got a good point in the chat too. The Raiders signed Christian Wilkins, who played all those snaps for Miami's defense.
Yeah,
you can't just replace Christian Wilkins with one guy. You're going to need multiple bodies to replace him. So I think you could see Etienne have a big game. I don't hate his anytime touchdown or his yards. I mean, I just think it's going to be a game where everyone thinks Miami's going to be this high-powered flying offense again, and it might just be a little worse than last year. Waddle's already coming in with a Q tag, and we know the moment the wind blows against him, he's going to have an injury. So might just be Tyreek Hill running around again, and he's not 100%. He might say he is, but I don't think he's 100%.
All right. So we're opposite there, but are you going to make a bet there, or are you is that just a lean for you?
Just a lean for now, maybe into a teaser, get him up at 9.5.
Well, I mean, if Miami's taking money, I mean, you might as well wait. There's no hurry.
Yeah, not a bad idea to wait.
So, all right, well, let's move it on as we were on opposite sides there, but you seem much more convicted in yours than I do in mine. Your favorite team, Tyler, the Pittsburgh Steelers, travel to Atlanta to take on the new look Falcons. Tyler, the Falcons are the darlings of best ball, but we know fantasy football and betting sides and totals are completely different animals, completely different. So even though the Falcons might, look pretty good on offense, they're facing one of the toughest defenses in the league, one of the sharpest defensive coordinators in the league. And as of right now, they're not all banged up like they were last year. Should be a fairly healthy Steelers squad. Russell Wilson versus Kirk Cousins. How are you approaching this one?
I mean, unless you're going to take your flag and put it in the dirt on one of these sides, I don't know how you bet this game with any confidence. Like, are you going to be like, all right, Arthur Smith is going to call a good offense in Pittsburgh where Russ is going to be the quarterback. He's going to have one wide receiver. We know they're going to rotate all 3 running backs. If there's 3, Warren might not play. Or do you want to go on the other side and trust a post-ruptured Achilles Kirk Cousins with these weapons on Atlanta? Like, are they going to be as good as everyone's painting them out to be? I think it's just a complete stay away. Like, I don't think I want anything to do with that game. I don't want to be sitting there the first Sunday of NFL season and I have a +3.5 with an Arthur Smith offense, and they're running plays for Cordell Patterson instead of Najee Harris in the red zone. So or do you want to take Atlanta and Kirk can't move? He has 0 mobility now, and TJ Watt and these guys are just bum rushing him. So I think I'd rather just stay away from it.
If I were to play it, I like the Steelers. It's probably going to go to 3.5. I don't know though.
I already see 3.5.
Same thing with like Miami. I think if this offense is everything that our colleagues over at Fanspeak think, as they loaded up on Atlanta sacks all offseason, they can cover this with ease, right? I mean, it might be one of those ones where if they win, they cover, and that the points don't matter, which is kind of rare, in a 3.5 point game. However, they do have that blowout potential here. You know me, I'm Team Steelers. If I had to play it, I'd take the points. But I do have some of those concerns that maybe I am underrating that offense, and that with the new coordinator, new quarterback, and actually using Drake London and Kyle Pitts properly, that we actually finally see the full potential of the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm fine staying away, taking notes, and I can't wait to overreact on Monday, right? Because if they blow out the Steelers,
it's definitely going to be the overreaction game, because there's a pathway where Arthur Smith knows the defense. Arthur Smith knows their tendencies. Steelers blow out Falcons, and everyone thinks the Steelers are like a legit contender, and they just slowly start to fall down that list very fast.
Yeah, because I think the Falcons are one of the biggest question marks coming into the season. So if they play well against the Steelers, everyone's going to proclaim them like a Super Bowl contender. And if they lose, it's going to be like, oh, same old Falcons, Cousins is washed. They can't take advantage of all this potential they have. So looking forward to that overreaction. Probably stay away from betting that game. Here's the game that I did want to bet, and I'm guessing we're on opposite sides here. Sam Darnold and the Fighting Minnesota Vikings will travel to New York to take on Daniel Jones and the Giants. Tyler, Daniel Jones and the Giants looked absolutely terrible during the preseason. Daboll did work some magic with him, but a lot of that was dump off to Saquon Barkley. Can Malik Neighbors become that safety valve that Barkley was for the team and make this offense viable? If so, the Giants have a chance here. But if not, I think Minnesota's just better on both sides of the ball. And I know that you hate Sam Darnold, but this is probably going to be one of the few games where I'd say he's going to have the QB advantage, because I'll tell you what, I think he's a little bit better than Daniel Jones at this point of the season. However, the Giants do have home field advantage, and they don't have that weight of expectations coming into them this season that they did last season. How are you approaching this one with the Giants catching 1.5 at home? Yeah,
not high on Darnold, like you said, but my thing is more of like a season-long thing. Like if they're going to run him out there all year, like at some point he's going to fall off the tracks. He's going to go crazy. He's going to throw multiple picks in a game. So I couldn't see starting him all year, and that's kind of where they're stuck at. This game, though, it's definitely winnable. It's probably their most winnable game in the first 9 weeks if you take a look at their schedule. My worry is the Giants are going to be sending Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns after him every play. I know their offensive line's ranked pretty highly, but if they can get them guys back there in the backfield, we know Darnold doesn't play well under pressure. It could just be that it could be week 1 where he throws the multiple picks. The Giants can't move the ball on offense, but he's giving them good field position. They're kicking field goals, and eventually they break through and score a touchdown, win the game, say 17-10. I can't bring myself to bet a side in this game, though. If I was going to, quote unquote, bet this game, I would just bet how I said in our preview shows for the NFC, Vikings to be the last winless team at about 9.5 to 1, because you're kind of just taking the Giants money line at 9.5 to 1 in a sort of weird way, because with that schedule and San Fran, Houston, the Rams, Detroit, Green Bay all waiting on the Vikings, they lose this game, they could easily start 0-8. So I don't hate that idea. Justin Jefferson to score a touchdown, though, I love that call. This New York secondary isn't all that good. They haven't upgraded at all in the offseason. And I don't hate even pairing him with Neighbors because the Vikings secondary is also destroyed by injuries. So the 41.5 seems low. I can't bring myself to clicking over, though, with these two guys out there at quarterback. So probably just a stay away and just a Justin Jefferson touchdown for me.
All right. Yeah,
and then
I might get involved with the Vikings.
Spread, but you can't bet this, but somebody's season's ending on Sunday in that stadium. That turf's taking someone's ACL.
That's terrible.
It does it every year.
Well, hopefully it's not Malik Neighbors because I loaded up on him in the best ball streets. Let's continue on, Tyler. Very next game. I'm not getting involved in this one either. Carolina Panthers are +4.
Do we just want to skip it?
Let's talk about it. It's the first season. It's first season of the year. Our first game of the year. Let's just talk about our thoughts on the team. So Carolina could be improved. They got a better coach. They improved the offensive line. They got Deontay Johnson, who will take that Adam Thielen, just eat everything up from Bryce. But I think with the player that Bryce Young is, the offensive line is what they really needed because he's so small and they gave him no time. And, he made so many plays at Alabama. I thought he was going to be better than CJ Stroud. So I'll take that L as well, even though it's only been 1 year. Maybe he does end up developing and being a starting caliber quarterback. But, I got to wait to see it. The New Orleans Saints, I think, are better than people are giving credit for, especially in a situation like this. I think the Saints defense is really good. So it's going to be a tough spot for the Panthers to open up against. However, we know these division games are close and they're catching 4. I don't necessarily love it. If I were to play it, I'd take the Saints. And I like a bunch of unders this week. This is probably one of the few games I do like the over here. I do think that the Carr and the Saints will be able to put up some points against the Panthers. So when you're betting that over, it's almost like taking the Panthers +4 because you're not going to get there unless that Panthers offense is improved. They could also be improved and not look that good in week 1 because I think the Saints defense is the most underrated defense in the league. I guess if I were to play it, I'd lay it and take the over, but I don't love this game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I can't touch this game with a 100-foot pole. Slight lean to Carolina, just everything's changing over there. The new OC improved there. They got new weapons. I just hate the Saints' whole setup. Like, Derek Carr sucks. Like, their fans are already calling for Rattler. They were calling for Rattler in the preseason. Rattler ran a 1-yard touchdown in, and the fans were online saying that they need to put Derek Carr back in so Rattler doesn't get hurt. Yeah, that's just like, I can't back a Derek Carr-led team. I know it's only 3.5, but divisional game could get weird. It'll be inside the dome for the Saints, though, where they do play better. I mean, they probably win the game, but I don't want to lay 3.5 with them, so probably stay away. Slight lean to Carolina plus the points.
Yeah, I lean towards the Saints here. I just think their defense is too good, and even if Canales does improve this team, it won't be in week 1, so we will not have a play for that game on the card. Biggest point spread of the weekend, Tyler, as the Jacoby Brissett. I don't know. We were arguing about this at one of my fantasy drafts this weekend. I mean, and they're basically saying, like, why get Drake May beat up behind that patchwork offensive line? But I thought he looked better than Brissett preseason. And I understand he's playing against 3rd and 4th stringers, but still, that's the future of your team. Looks like they don't want the future to get absolutely killed. Bengals are good, but is 8.5? Is that right? I mean, is this going to end up being, we're worried the 8.5 is too big and it's the easiest bet on the board as they're up by 27 going into the 3rd quarter. How do you approach this game between the Bengals and the Patriots? Total 40.5.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to lay 9.5 if I don't know Chase is going to be on the field. So probably stay away until I get that news. I mean, I know T. Higgins is still good. Yoshi Vosh will fill that wide receiver 2 role. They'll still be able to run the ball with Moss and Chase Brown, but 9.5 is a lot, even though the Patriots are probably the worst team in the league. Burrow coming back from his injury, we don't know what he's going to look like. Probably just another stay away from me spread.
All right. Tyler is staying away on that game. I'm fine with that too. Usually those bigger spreads do scare us off. But if I were to play it, I'd play Cincinnati, man. I think we could be scared of the 8.5.
If you had to force me to give me the favorite, I wouldn't be comfortable taking the points with New England.
Especially in Cincinnati. If it was in New England, maybe I could see them working some magic. But I think this Bengals team is going to be fired up, especially coming off a disappointing season last year. And I think Chase will be out there. Honestly, if it's any other team, I would say
if he doesn't practice today, doesn't that worry you a little bit? He didn't practice yesterday.
What worries me is that the Bengals are just cheap in general. So
Yeah,
it's
like
just like,
they
yeah,
might just hold this out.
yeah, because it's such a terrible franchise. This sucks that my guy Joe Burrow ended up on that cheap, terribly run franchise. The Tennessee Titans are plus 3.5 in Chicago taking on the Bears. Tyler, another one that I don't really have a lot of thoughts on. It's the new look Bears. They got Caleb Williams. They got all those weapons. And I was listening to some of Kegg's stuff. He's actually higher on the Bears offensive line than I was, which actually should give Bears fans hopes because he's pretty good at breaking these things down, as well as this Bears defense after they added Montez Sweat ended up being pretty good. So we can accept a reasonable defensive performance from them. The Tennessee Titans underwent one of the biggest overhauls in the offseason, though, which is why I'm not sure what to make of this team. I think that Brian Callahan is great. He's a good play caller, but you know me, I love my tough guy coaches. I loved Mike Vrabel, and I wonder how much this team and this defense falls off without his leadership. So right now, I'd probably lean towards the new look Bears and Caleb Williams looking great in their first game, but there's just too many question marks around the Titans for me to accurately predict this team. You're muted.
There's the first mute of the season, so good to get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'd take Chicago here if I had to take a team. I mean, I know they're the new look offense with Caleb, but just adding Keenan Allen, DJ Moore's already there. They drafted Rome. Komet's also a weapon. They added Swift to the running back room. Their offensive line is pretty decent. I'm not going to say they're a great unit. They're not a bad unit. They're right in the middle. Tennessee's pass rush isn't all that good. Like they have Simmons. They have Simmons in the middle. The name was evading me for a second. They released Caleb Farley, who was their best corner and drafted in the first round a couple years ago. I could just see Caleb having like week one, Caleb, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. Everyone's calling him the next Mahomes, and he proves it week one. So there could be an overreaction there. But their defense, very underrated, the Bears. Montez Sweat led them in sacks last year. He also led the Commanders in sacks last year. He played half the season on one team, half the season on the other. Their secondary is very quietly one of the best secondaries in the league. They have one of the best corners in the league in Jalen Johnson. I don't hate sprinkling on their defense to score a touchdown at 6-1 because are we sure Levis is going to be the guy? Like, I know he's going to throw the ball a lot more this year. That could be to the detriment of the team. He could just be airing it out, throwing interceptions. They could be looking to Mason Rudolph a lot sooner rather than later. So I think if anybody I'm taking here, it'd be Chicago.
All right. Well, so we agree there. Are we going to make that official, or do you think we should just lay off and just gather some information and wait till week 2?
I think we should just wait. Just too many unknowns. The Chicago offense could be very good, could just be a sputter. It could sputter with Caleb. And who knows, Tennessee under the new coaching, maybe Will Levis just does air it out and he looks like how he did in that first game he played where he threw Hopkins the 2 touchdown passes.
That's my thinking too, right? That, I love Vrabel, but maybe he just wasn't the right fit for that team. And it is 2024. It's not 1989. And getting an offensive-minded guy in there helps Levis develop. And not to mention they did add Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. So he should do a little better. Tony Pollard makes that backfield, a little more dynamic. I know Derrick Henry's a way better player, but gives them more options to pass out of the backfield with both backs. So, I think my biggest concern for that team is still the offensive line. To be fair, though, you would say that about most teams. I'm pretty close to so we'll revisit this one. I think that Chicago might be all right, especially if Tennessee ends up taking a little money. The Buffalo Bills are laying 6 against the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals have Kyler Murray returning, and of course, one of the best wide receiver prospects we have seen in the last 10 years, with Marvin Harrison Jr. dropping all the way to pick 4 to become an Arizona Cardinal. Trey McBride returns. Jonathan Gannon, I think, does a great job with that defense, making them look better than the players look on paper, and I think that's a testament to his scheming. So do you think the Cardinals can keep this one close? 6 points seems like a lot for the Buffalo Bills, who, of course, have lost some players on defense and had to make some salary caps this season, salary cap moves that hindered their depth.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's looking like it's the highest total. No, Jacksonville, Miami's the highest total on the board, but this is second at 48.5. Mm-hmm. Give me the over here. I mean, you talked about it. Buffalo had to cut a bunch of guys on the defense. Arizona's projected to be the worst defense in the league, but they're projected to be a top 5 offense.
That doesn't make sense to me.
We know Josh Allen and these guys can put points on the board also. I think you could see both these teams get into the 20s. They might even both get into the 30s here. So I like the over here at 48.5. I can't really pin down a side. Like, I want to lean Buffalo. But Buffalo's just a hard team to cap. Like, there's games where you think laying 13 is way too many. And then you tune into the game and they're up 21-0 by the end of the first quarter. And it looks like they're never going to look back. And then there's games you lay -3 with them. And they never get the lead up until the end of the game, and they win the game by 1. So I got to wait and see with all the moving pieces. Joe Brady finally taking over the offense completely. They talked about wanting to run the ball more. Arizona couldn't stop the run. James Cook in the 60s for his rushing yards prop seems really low. Don't hate alding that up to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and maybe even 100, depending on the odds you can get that at. So I like the over. I like some James Cook's props. Nothing on the side for me in this one.
Yeah, you mentioned that 13-point spread. My projections have Buffalo winning by 13. So math not in favor of Arizona, but a lot of red, just unknown parts in there. If Harrison is as good as he's looked so far, right, that could change everything. So let's keep it moving. Maybe a play on Buffalo while they're still laying 6. I kind of like this one, Tyler. The Houston Texans are -2.5 taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The total is 48.5. Anthony Richardson returns for the Indianapolis Colts, and we've heard various reports about how good he's been doing in camp. Of course, we had the one with the Bengals players all trash talking him, but then there was other days that he looked pretty good, and we knew he was a work in progress. The other thing is, like, will he even stay healthy, or are we going to see Flacco by the second half? The Houston Texans, my concern for that team would be that they're feeling themselves. They've just heard all offseason how they're the best thing ever and that CJ Stroud is the greatest rookie since John Elway. Now, will that affect the team, or do you think this team comes in there and handles business? My projections like the Texans to cover.
Doesn't this feel like the sucker bet of the week?
No.
I think so.
Because I think Indianapolis is overrated.
I think they're slightly overrated, but they are very well coached. That's the biggest thing here. Houston's also very well coached, but just like you said, Houston's been talked up all offseason. They go out and get Diggs, which is, I think he's my personal opinion, I think he's wide receiver 3 on this team. They got Joe Mixon in the backfield, which they weren't able to run the ball that well last year. I don't think he fixes any of that either. Their O-line still isn't all that good. It's they're either going to slightly regress and people are going to go, well, they overachieved last year. They're only going to win 9 games this year. What happened to the Texans? Or they are the next team right behind the Chiefs in the AFC, and CJ Stroud and Patrick Mahomes are the new rivalry everyone's going to have to watch for. I slightly lean towards they're going to regress a little bit, and they are not that team. I think Indy wins this game. I think Indy wins the game inside the dome. We're way
opposite here then.
Yeah. I think AR plays out of his mind. I think it's a high-scoring game, but I think in the end the Colts pull it off. And everyone's got a sour taste in their mouth.
We're going to have a fun show on Monday. We're going to have a fun show on Monday because I know that every show will be overreacting if Houston's not able to get this done. Houston's laying 2.5. Tyler likes the dog. Let's talk about my team, Tyler. I'm going to bet this 3.5 here, right? The Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Los Angeles Chargers here. Harbaugh's here. And other than Harbaugh, I don't see why we would like the Chargers laying 3 here. Herbert's been hurt all offseason. We'll see how it looks out there. But I don't know if they've had the time to integrate this new offense. I think the Chargers are going to run the heck out of the ball. And I think that's one thing that the Raiders can do is stop the run, especially with the addition of Christian Wilkins. I love taking the 3.5 in a home game, and that's what we're getting here. With the Raiders. You want to talk me off being a homer?
Nope. If I had to pick a side in this game, it would be the Raiders, but just give me Devontae Adams props in this game. 72.5 receiving yards on him is way too low. Give me the over there. Give me his touchdown. Give me his alts up to about 125 if you want to play that high. There was the video in the offseason where the Chargers social media team, they were just going through receivers in their division. They got to Devontae Adams and they put the garbage logo next to him. He made comments about that video recently. You can't tell me that these guys don't use that as bulletin board material, and that he's not going to go out there and try and shred this Chargers defense. They don't have a corner that can cover him. Minshew's going to give him shots down the field. So I love Devontae Adams props this week.
All right. Glad to see us on the same side in that one. From one favorite team to another, Meg and Steve's favorite team, the Washington Commanders, catching 3.5 against Tampa Bay, totals 44. I'm sure this will be a fun one to overreact to, seeing how Jaden Daniels does against that defense. Seems like it's a tough coordinator to start against, right? Going against Tampa Bay, who's known for shutting down rookie quarterbacks. Do you think that Jaden Daniels will be able to adapt and overcome and help the Commanders cover a 3.5-point spread against the Buccaneers?
I don't want anything to do with the spread in this one, but 43.5 on the total is way too low. Washington's defense, we talked about Arizona being projected to be almost last. If that ain't them, it's going to be Washington.
Yeah,
Washington's defense is absolutely terrible. The other thing, Tampa Bay's lost a lot of pieces across that defense, and a lot of pieces have gotten very old. So I like the over here at 43.5. I think Jaden Daniels can put up points. I know Baker and Mike Evans and these guys can. So 43.5 seems way too low.
All right. Looks like we're going to play total in that game. And the offshore market agrees with you as they moved it to 44. Let's check in on what Tim says here. He's on the Patriots. He said Stevenson and Henry score for the Patriots, 17-14 for the Patriots. Defense comes to play for the new head coach. Mayo surprise Bengals week 1. Bengals will bounce back and be contenders, but week 1, Patriots win. Well, if that happens, we'll give you credit, Tim, but I don't know if I'm confident enough to back that Patriots.
I mean, he does have a good point.
It's the NFL. Crazy stuff happens all the time, or everyone will quit their jobs and just bet the NFL. This is not an easy league to bet. It's not an easy league to predict, and nothing's out of the realm of possibility. These are all professionals. It's not like watching those college games. Like what was Oregon, like a 44.5-point favorite last weekend? You know, I mean, the talent differential is not crazy. So
Cincinnati has started slow the last couple of years too, so it's not the craziest take.
Yeah, and Meg's mentioning what I had mentioned earlier with Todd Bowles. He's tough against rookie quarterbacks, so kind of a tough start there for Jaden Daniels. But I'm not going to give up, even if he has a rough week 1. Let's move on to a game where I think I like the points, Tyler, and I don't think you will. The Denver Broncos.
I knew it. I knew it right when you said you were going to like the points.
But see, I also kind of like Seattle too. You know, those are two teams that I'm high on this year. I like both their win totals over. So someone's going to have to lose this game. But I think Denver can keep this close. I think Knicks is better than we're giving people credit for. And I think we forgot how good Sean Payton was as a coach as he saddled with Mr. Limited Russell Wilson. So now Payton's finally going to be able to implement his scheme. My concern for the Broncos is they've lost a lot of defensive depth as they had to eat that one of the biggest cap hits in the history of the NFL. Seattle Seahawks should be good, but are they good enough to be laying 6? What do you think?
Yeah, I am on the other side from you in this game. I think Seattle's got a very good shot at winning the NFC West. Like the coordinator switches they made, like the coordinator they hired on the offensive side, his name's leading me. Actually, I believe it was the head coach. Whichever one it was, I can't remember.
Ryan Grubb's on the offensive side. He came from the University of Washington, and Mike McDonald came over from the Baltimore Ravens, and he will be calling the plays on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah. So you loved Washington football last year, spread. You loved watching Penix play. Mm-hmm. What did Grubb have him doing 90% of the time?
Slinging it. They drop back and they push
it down about 40 yards down the field.
Yeah, they push it.
Now find me a better trio of receivers you would rather have to have a quarterback just launch the ball down the field to.
Right.
There might not be one. So I think their offense is going to have its way. Denver couldn't stop the run whatsoever last year. Kenneth Walker is going to crush them. And McDonald comes over from Baltimore. We've seen what he did with Baltimore's defense. And now you're going to give them a better defense. I think they have way better pieces than Baltimore's defense. I think Seattle kind of just dominates Denver in this matchup. Like, I know Bo Nix is the shiny piece. We all think Sean Payton's going to turn him into the next Drew Brees. I don't think it happens day one. I think Seattle just kind of stomps them.
Tyler, my projections have a huge edge on the over. What are your thoughts on the total?
think it's a one-way street, to be completely honest. I think it's all
You just take
Seattle. Like
Seahawks
Seattle
team
would have to
total
get us to
over?
42. Or
You want to take Seahawks team total over?
Yeah.
I got him scoring 27.
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
I think that's a
maybe
good
that'll
bet.
be a play. Maybe that'll be a play. Because if Denver covers the spread, it's because their offense does better than people expect. I don't think that this. I just don't see how, with all the pieces they lost on defense and the talent they have, I just don't think it's gonna be a very good defensive team. So the only reason I like the Broncos so much this year, I don't really think they're a good team. Just their win total is 5.5. I think that's too low for a well-coached football team. All right.
No, I agree. Definitely too low for a well-coached football team, but it's just it's the pieces around the well-coached football team I don't like.
On offense or defense? Because I think the offense is fine. I think the defense is going to suck.
I mean, I don't like Marvin Mims being your wide receiver too when he's one route and that's it.
Well,
like,
they kind of feel like the Steelers to be more opened up this year. Yeah. Supposedly he's supposed to be more opened up this year and take that Jerry Jeudy role. So if he's able to perform it accurately or adequately, the Broncos got an okay chance. So we'll take the Seattle team total over there, and I'll just be on my own taking that +6. Plus, I think that it might run a little bit, so I might get a better number by the time Sunday comes. I don't feel like I need to bet it right now. I think this next game is tough, dude. The Dallas Cowboys are catching 2.5 in Cleveland, taking on the Browns. Totals 41.5. Kind of like the Cowboys here. I just don't think Deshaun Watson. I don't want to bet on Deshaun Watson against one of the best defenses in the league. What do you think?
I agree, but do you want to bet on Dak against one of the other best defenses in the league?
I mean, he's 10 times better than Deshaun Watson in my mind.
I mean, I agree. I'm probably writing Deshaun Watson off. But there's the pathway that, he was suspended 2 years ago, showed up, week 12, didn't look good the final couple weeks. Yeah, he didn't get to practice with the team the entire time and everything else. Last year, he's playing with a broken bone in his throwing shoulder. That was never going to work.
Right.
Like, if there's ever a chance, it's right here. The dude's fully healthy, had a full offseason to work with the team. I don't think he gets back to the top 3 quarterback he was, but I think that he can be good enough to win this game. Dallas isn't going to be able to do much other than throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb either, so it's just an ugly game.
Yeah, I like Dallas a lot. I got +122 here. I'll probably be taking on the money line. My projections have them winning by 1 point. And when we talk about shoulder injuries, I know you don't like Derek Carr, but I think he never recovered from that shoulder injury, and that's why he looks so bad now. And I'm thinking the same thing's going to happen to Deshaun Watson. Let's talk about the Los Angeles Rams. That will be Sunday Night Football. They're +3.5. Tyler, this is another one of my quote-unquote biggest edges running projections. I got the Lions winning this game by, I think, 7. How much do I have the Lions winning by? I got the Lions winning by almost 8 points. I got the Lions by 7.5. It's 3.5. Talk me off of this bet.
No, not talking you off of this bet. I mean, I think the Lions just kind of handle business. They have improved on both sides of the ball from last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're probably going to be the NFC 1 seed. Like, they could easily post a crazy record. I think that their divisional opponent in Green Bay is going to be the other team that's kind of fighting them for the 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
This Rams team, me and Meg talked about it before the show. I don't know how to read this team right now, Spread. I don't know how you can have a good read on them. They overachieved last year.
Too many injuries on the offensive line to compete with that ferocious ferocious Detroit defense.
That, and plus,
I think they're actually a good team, but they're just banged up already, and they can't keep their offensive line healthy. And I think the loss of Aaron Donald is way more than people realize.
And they overachieved so much on that defensive side of the ball that I think Detroit's pretty easy here. But in a game script that I think Detroit's pretty easy, Cooper Kupp over 5.5 receptions at plus money. When Puka Nacua is already banged up and his alt receiving yards up to 100, which gets you 3-1. I think I'm going to be on both of those.
Excellent. Yeah, Tim says it's a great Sunday night game. I don't know. I think it might be a blowout. He says strange that Aaron Donald wasn't going to be there. He was like 2 people won. I'd almost say 3. The way he was getting triple teamed. I mean, he made everything so much easier for all those guys on the defense. Defense could have a serious drop off. In which case, which is why we kind of like Rams in fantasy football, right? Because they could be playing from a huge deficit, and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua put up huge PPR numbers as they're just getting pelted going against a soft coverage zone down by 20 in the third quarter. So sounds like we agree there. We're going to take the Lions Sunday night, right?
Yep.
And I'm also in on a Sunday night under too, just 51 points. First game of the year.
I mean, I don't hate your thinking there, but that matchup, that game gets going and touchdown starts getting scored, you're not going to like where you're sitting.
Yeah, it could be one that you're dead at first, or you're just pissed that they score 14 points in the first 6 minutes and you can get a live 60.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe I'll do that, but I'm going to take the Lions pregame.
Cool.
And we'll save Sunday. Let's save Monday night, but I got to get your thoughts here. Niners out to -4. It's because of rumors that Trent Williams is going to sign. I don't know what to do with that game, but we have a lot of time to think about it, and we'll break it down again on Monday. But just right now,
I can almost guarantee you we're on opposite sides.
You're going to take the Jets?
Yep. I'm going to take the Jets, and I'm going to bet that Aaron Rodgers MVP before that game, because if they win that game, cut his odds in half. Oh,
because you saw the show with me and Meg, huh?
Cut his odds in half.
Yeah, Meg's on that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like if they're good, like you got to think they're just tripping over themselves to get to the voters pool to vote for him.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I think CJ, Mahomes, I mean, even Allen.
I think CJ's the sucker bet of the entire board.
I'm just saying, if he has a good year, I think they might be. I don't see
how he's much better than last year, unless this dude is the second best quarterback in the NFL already.
I mean, the schedule's pretty easy.
It's
right.
Yeah,
it's not
I
like
guess so, but
it's not like he's playing in the NFC North or AFC North, right? Against the Ravens.
He has like no rushing upside either, though. Like, I don't know. I feel like he should be behind the likes of Hurts. Lamar Jackson, who just won it last year, has worse odds than CJ Stroud. Like, I feel like Stroud should be priced in with like the Tuas at 20-1. But they're the shiny toy from last year.
Close that they'll default to him because he's the shiny new toy.
I think if it's close, they're gonna go right back to the poster boy. He ain't plus 450 for no reason.
All right. Yeah, Meg's happy about that, and Andrew agrees with you going back to that Sunday night game. He said, "Give me a Cup TD, but Detroit money line parlay." Sounds pretty good. Although, like I said, Andrew, I think you're safe laying it. You might be costing yourself a little money there. I think Detroit's going to blow them out, dude. I think they're going to I want to bet their first half team total over because they might take their foot off the gas. I think they're going to put up 28 in their first 5 drives. I think that defense is really, really – and you're going against just this offense that continues to get better. I mean, even if Jahmyr Gibbs is banged up, it doesn't even hurt the team that much. I mean,
Montgomery
he's a
can
little
handle
less
it.
Explosive, but Montgomery's fine. All right, there you have it, Tyler. What's your favorite bet of all the ones that we discussed?
Favorite bet for week 1? That's like putting me on the spot right here, right now. Let me get back to the actual board because I was looking at.
Do you want me to give you mine while you're doing it?
Go for yours.
Give me the Dallas Cowboys. Give me.
I gotta give a side on this.
All right, I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys. I'll take the 2.5, but I'm going to split it. I'm going to grab some plus 122 as well. But I like the Cowboys to get things done in Cleveland and start their season right against the most overrated player in football, Deshaun Watson.
You know what? Give me the Washington Tampa Bay over 43.5.
That's fine. That's fair. I'll join you on that.
The only thing that I am slightly worried about because I haven't looked at it yet, just saying that bet, is weather. I haven't looked at the weather for Tampa Bay. If it's going to be raining and windy, then we'll stay off that over. But if it's looking like it's going to be sunny, no wind, give me the over there.
Yeah, I almost wonder if we want to do just a Tampa team total over like we did with Seattle.
No, I think both
If
teams.
Bowles shuts
Tampa's.
down Jaden, you don't
I
think
mean,
Bowles
yeah,
is going to
he
shut
could
down
shut him.
Jaden though? He could confuse him.
He could, but I mean, Jaden's not a young rookie quarterback. Like he's like
That's
26
true.
years old. Let's not.
Yeah,
Let's
when you're
not.
coming from an SEC, it's not like it's that much
You're
of an
coming.
upgrade,
You're
right? It's
coming
not
from
like
the
coming from North
SEC.
Dakota State.
Yeah, you played.
Yeah.
You played in the Pac-12 too. Like you threw the ball to Brandon Ayuk. That's how old this guy is. So
Yeah.
I think there's a good shot that they do well.
All right, Tyler. Final thoughts for week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be fun. I think we found some winners, and don't forget to check out the other shows this week. We'll have more
All
winners
right,
for
tell
you.
me your next one because I will not be doing props with you this year. Give me the lineup. Give me the time. When will the props and total show be on the Fanspeak Network?
Yeah, I don't have because I got it written all on a note sheet. I'm in the process of moving, so I don't have all that in front of me, but I believe it is Thursday at 3 p.m. And that'll be me,
so that's
Meg,
2 days
and
from now, same time. So
Yep.
it'll be 3 p.m. Thursday. And who's the lineup there? It's you, Meg, Andrew, and
Steve.
Justin.
Yeah, Steve and I believe Justin or Andrew. I can't remember.
That's going to be a great show. So I won't be on it, but I'll be listening to you guys, and I can't wait to hear some of those plays. So I can tell you we're going to have our picks up either tonight or tomorrow. I just have the projections in, but it's just a weird week with Labor Day, man. I had a great time yesterday, but now we're excited to get back to work, and then every other week we'll be on track because I'll get up and get my work done on Monday morning instead of Tuesday morning. It will be Tyler, Steve, and Meg on the show on Thursday, so make sure you tune in for that. And of course, Justin and Andrew will be doing Battle Royale content, and I'm not sure the time, so if they're in the chat, they can let me know or send me a message so I can promote it properly next week. But that's it for us. I can't believe I'm taking the Cowboys, but here we are. We are back, and fanspeak.com.